In the 90s, one of the most tragic events of the 20th century occurred. In 1994, in the African country Rwanda, there was an absurd tribal war between the Tutsi and Hutu tribes, which cost the lives of more than a million people. Both tribes were neighbors, and the massacre occurred because of the geographical divisions that took place during the era of colonialism. The story takes place in that country, Rwanda, and begins when, a few hours after signing a peace agreement between the Hutu and Tutsi tribes, the Hutu soldiers began to incite by radio to assassinate the Tutsi. Faced with this, Paul Rusesabagina, who is Hutu, decides to accommodate more than 1,268 Tutsis in the hotel where he is manager, Michael Lyons, to protect them from the Hutu soldiers. Paul's children and wife are Tutsi and are threatened with death, so Paul decides to bribe the Hutu military not to attack the hotel. Rusesabagina continues to bribe the Hutus not to intervene in the hotel in hopes that international aid will arrive, but he, his family, and the refugees are disappointed to see that such aid only evacuates white tourists to return to their country of origin. It's at the moment that Paul decides to protect his family and the thousands of Tutsi who trust him with his life.
Not only did Paul's story remain at the hearts of all the people who suffered barbarian in Rwanda, but it also caught the attention of director Terry George, who ultimately decided to recreate it. Given this, we decided to watch the film and make a reflection of three key points about this conflict. Number one, the humanity. Faced with this barbarian, humanity took a step back in the search for a world where peace and respect are the highest priority. Once again, the man proved that he was capable of committing the greatest atrocities. Number two, media. The lack of interest from the media was present as few media outlets reported what was happening in Rwanda. Likewise, this problem continues to occur today, but on a smaller scale. If a war breaks out in poor African countries such as Sudan or the Congo, and the war is not mediated or subject to political or ideological interests such as Iraq, the media will not cover it and the deals will have no impact on us. With this, the director manager to remember the sad reality in which the world lives. If you are black, poor, and you live in a country that no one knows, don't expect the international community to mobilize or that television pays attention to you.
The UN. The High Command of the UN, who with their passive and frivolous attitude, and without being very clear about their mission in Rwanda, ignored what was really happening in that country, so they ended up being accomplices of the barbarians that damage human rights that they defend. Its role as a peacekeeping force fades from the moment that political and economic interests take precedence over the lives of people who are suffering the rigors of confrontation. There are themes like these that are necessary to see because of the teaching they leave to the public. It's in this type of film where artistic qualities take a back seat, not unless the film is well constructed, paced, and true to life.
Conclusion. Hotel Rwanda is a movie the world needs to see again. The film can move us, shock, outrage, and even bore, but it's sure that it will not leave us indifferent. One cannot help but feel in an uncomfortable position of shame and sadness at the same time. Signs of the Rwanda remind us that we were passive citizens, citizens who did nothing in the face of one of the greatest genocides of humanity.